I was new to Evanston. My husband got a job in Chicago, and we lived about 2 blocks on Chicago Avenue from the YMCA. I had been a physical education teacher and health for 3 years, and wanted to do something out to see what the community was doing, and I wanted to volunteer someplace. By then we had Kathy, who was just a baby, and I had her in the stroller, and I was going up and down the streets, and then I saw the YMCA. I didn't grow up in a YMCA, but I knew that they probably would have a swimming pool, and teaching swimming was always a passion with me. I was on a swim team, and at age 11 we started helping younger children learn to swim. I had a very good mentor in St. Louis, where I grew up, and just fell in love with children and teaching them how to do something. So when I stepped in the YMCA, I asked to see someone who could talk to me about volunteering and teaching swimming at their Y. And I met Zeno Moore, who was the Women and Girls Director. She needed someone to teach swim lessons to the women in the evening. And at that time, all the facilities were divided between the women, the girls, the men, and the boys. The women had only 2 times, one time to swim in the morning and one time to swim at night. At that time, my husband would come home at night, and I could go out, he could babysit, and that was a perfect arrangement for me to do something that I was used to and enjoyed doing. I did that for several years and had a wonderful time with it, wonderful women. And then I was able to teach during the day, and also that I guess each one developed into 2 nights and 2 days. I enjoyed it so much, and as we had our 2nd and 3rd and 4th babies, as they were growing, I would tack on something else that either we started or was there at the Y already. This was 1960 when I stepped in the door to ask if Zeno had anything. By 1967, we could see that things were changing in our country. Women were beginning to work a little more, and they wanted more time to be with not only the family but their own interests, as I had started to keep that going, so that when the day came that you might work full-time, you were ready for it. So 1967, we started a program, and when I say we, it was just a few women who could see that their children could learn to swim at an earlier age than 8 years of age. And the YMCA all around the world would not take children until they were 8 because they could stand up in the swimming pools. Every pool was made that way, mostly older children who could stand, and then you didn't have to worry about holding them. Well, I thought if we use volunteers, then the volunteer parents or students at Northwestern or whomever could come and be that person like a floor, so that they would make the children feel comfortable, and we could teach them how to swim as long as we had those people involved. So we started a 6 and 7-year-old program, and that took off immediately because, as people know, by the time you're 8, you've been involved in a lot of water. And we did have some baby programs, baby and mother, during the day, and then again it was strictly mothers, so we wanted to involve the fathers and grandparents or whomever. Then in 19 it took several years before everything got developed, and by 1977, women were outside of the home or partially outside of the home, doing so many wonderful things, and that came to the YMCA. The classes were then co-ed. We had more time in the pool, and it was just a whole panorama of classes and things that children could learn from very early age. The key to all this was the fact that the Zeno and the staff were very receptive to these different things that we were starting, because they could also see a need. And it just made for my belief was that the body, mind, and spirit were all so important facets of developing human growth. So in 1977, we were able to develop a whole preschool program and also implement swim lessons at 6 and 7 up to the age of 8. And so it was called mini mod at 6 and 7 because at that time there were the mini skirts, and that was kind of a cute little program, and that was with boys and girls. And we then could have a program from 6 months all the way up through those 6 and 7-year-olds. It was so gratifying to see the parents help me develop this. And by then we had Sarah Updike and myself and volunteers. We had innumerable volunteers, mostly parents, but also people who wanted to work with these different skills that we were teaching the children, and also very much the values of life in the YMCA. The teachers came from mostly the parents who signed up from the classes. And I kept my eye out for teachers. And I didn't care if they taught history or if they taught any academics, because what I wanted was somebody that liked to teach a child. Maybe they were never exposed to swimming, never exposed to art, ballet, cooking. It was endless what the people in Evanston, and especially the mothers, had in their backgrounds. And they wanted to have their children learn what they had learned, but also we made sure that swimming was generally the main thrust of the programs. I feel very strongly everyone should learn to swim at an early age, and then the fear factor is generally not even part of it. The mothers and the parents, the fathers on Saturday were with children from 6 months through 7, and we had wonderful volunteers from Northwestern who would come over and show the children. We had swim team children by then who would come help the little ones, and it was a very exciting time of all these different programs. Sarah and Jane Doyle started Camp Wanago, which is still going on today. And just as we did with the classes of adding different parts of things to learn, Camp Wanago was the summer program along with the regular program, and that was just wonderful, getting out of the building, going down to the lake, using the facilities of Evanston and all of its beauty, walks, the parks, And we went down one time to Oak Street Park with not Oak Street, the flowers, Merrick Rose Garden, and had music with dulcimers and poetry. And that was beautiful when you see children in awe of all these different things around them. The teachers were excited too, and because it was a time in life where things were becoming open to all kinds of new things, we were able to start things that had never been in the YMCA before. One thing that I had to do was make sure that everyone was trained, and so we brought trainers into the Y. I would go out and be trained myself to some of the new methods of teaching how to swim for the children. Psychology classes and emphasis on the whole person were really the values of the Y at that time. Because the programs were growing so fast, we had to keep a focus on nurturing the whole child and exposing them to some of the things that they had never learned or had seen. We brought in intergenerational programs, so the children who didn't have grandparents in the community, they were out of town, we brought grandparents, so they also, who didn't have grandchildren, could work with the children. I had several people in the Learn to Swim program, which was a community program for a week, and the staff would help with that. People from outside, grandmothers, grandfathers, and it was so good because we not only saw people that we knew from the classes, but we got to know the community better. And those children came every day to learn to swim. Always the focus was so exciting on the whole child and developing them age by age. So we had everything classified according to ages and not abilities, because we wanted to involve children of all different speeds in their learning process. And we were growing so that we needed a babysitting center too. The Francis Beidler Drop-In Center was added, and thanks to our mayor's family, the Beidler family, Tisdall, this was Elizabeth Tisdall's father, gave money, and they started the Drop-In Center. And that goes on today, and that really helps parents do their own exercising and also put their children in there so they can use the facilities of the Y. Also, we let parents go outside of the Y. We felt these volunteers all over the place, mother volunteers, needed someplace to put their children while they were doing things. And it just made life easier to have babysitters.